to From Center Ice, the podcast. My name is Courtney, and I have two very special guests with me today. We have Cece Hockley and Mr. Sean O'Brien. And before we get started, just tell the lovely people what you guys do in the world of hockey. We'll start with Cece.
So I co-host the Calder Farmstead with Mr. Sean O'Brien down there. And I don't know how the layout is in the recording here, but he's below me, so I'm pointing below me. But yeah, we co-host the Calder Farmstead. We've been podcast co-hosts for, I want to say, year and a half. Has it been 2 years yet, Sean?
No, it's definitely not been 2. I think we started in like October-ish of 2020.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a better time to start a podcast than what we did in the middle of the summer.
Well, at least it was the off season, you know.
This is true. But who wants to make a hockey podcast in the off season? But we did, so it's fine.
I mean, yeah, if you're going to gain traction and everything.
Might as well.
Sorry, sidebar, distractions.
Go for it.
Yeah, I am the AHL editor of Full Press Hockey. The site that Courtney also writes for as well and covers Rockford, but I also cover the Colorado Eagles. I've got the Budweiser Event Center in Loveland behind me. So that's what I do.
Very nice. Very nice. What about you, Sean?
So I don't write things. I actually just learned to read last year because Cece made me.
Good job.
But I also co-host the Calder Farmstead AHL podcast. You may have seen some of my graphs on Twitter or other places. I don't know your life. So I do a lot of the analytics work for the AHL league-wide. As far as I know, I am the only person who takes a league-wide look with analytics at the AHL. There are a couple other people who do like specific teams or parts of teams in terms of like prospect analytics. But as far as I know, I'm the only guy who looks at the league as a whole. I have a model that we use to predict games. I also do hockey work for a company called StatsTrack that manually tracks analytics and reports them to coaches in real time. I did that for a little while, as well as now I kind of work special projects for them here and there.
That's awesome.
He's kind of a big deal.
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
So
he by the stats, who is the worst team in the AHL?
Off the top of my head, I'd have to say probably Bridgeport. Bridgeport's pretty bad. Lehigh Valley also. Well, Lehigh Valley is getting better because like 7 guys just came out of COVID protocol. So their outlook is going up, whereas Bridgeport is just bad, like not circumstantial bad.
Who would be the best then?
Chicago. Chicago.
Come on, Sean.
Numbers don't lie.
Chicago, probably closely behind Chicago is Stockton and when Utica is healthy, Utica. So
okay, I guess. So since you brought up the Wolves who hate the IceHogs, I guess we will just kick this off talking about your hatred for the IceHogs branding.
I feel like hatred is a strong word, but I'm not a fan of it. No. I think was my exact phrasing on our Christmas episode is the gift we gave to the Rockford IceHogs was a rebrand because their logo looks like the title card for a 90s children's cartoon, which I stand by.
You know what? I like cartoons, okay? They're fun.
I'm not saying that I don't like cartoons as well, or that that's an inherently bad thing, but it's a 15-year AHL franchise. And I feel like they need I would go with a better name and a better logo. I think they could stick to the Hogs theme, but I've always said, and this predates my time as an AHL guy, if you put ice in the front of your team's name, it's because you don't think your fans are smart enough to know it's a hockey team unless they've been to a game. That's why you see so many minor leagues with like the Ice Bears, the Ice Rays, the Ice Pilots, the Ice Flyers. Like, to me, that's mildly insulting to your fan base. Be like, they're not smart enough to know it's a hockey team unless we put ice in the name.
Well,
I brought up the Indianapolis Ice of the IHL, just ice.
There you
Don't
go.
even have to, don't even have to put anything after that. Just
It was a
Indianapolis
very
Ice.
creative name, just ice.
Yes, right?
But I mean, you kind of have to do that in Rockford because they have been around for a while and some people still don't know we have a professional hockey team here.
But like that to me says your marketing department is not doing their job. Like, and yeah, part of having strong branding and that is being able to market it well. And I would say in support of my argument here, if your branding was stronger, maybe more people would know about it. If IceHogs is not really finding the mark. Also, the IceHogs name came from a Name the Team contest in 1999. And Name the Team contests are things that I'm really glad we've stopped doing for professional sports franchises. Because for the record, the San Jose Sharks were almost named the Rubber Puckies because of a Name the Team contest.
No.
That's why you need to bring these contests back because that's amazing. The San Jose Rubber Puckies.
Could you imagine John Tortorella on ESPN talking about the San Jose Rubber Puckies? I feel.
But then they would have the nickname the Rubbers. I mean, come on.
What's wrong? What's wrong with erasers? That's what they call them in Britain. The rubbers. They're just erasers. Pencil
just erasers. What do you have against erasers, Sean?
To Sean's point, I do think I saw a Saturday morning cartoon on Fox back in the day. Wild and wacky porky ice hogs. Wild and wacky porky ice hogs. No, I'm just kidding.
But I mean, like they could stick a new logo on the exact same jersey template like most AHL teams do with their NHL parent club. Mm-hmm. And especially now that they're owned by the Hawks, like I've long been the proponent that NHL teams should use their AHL team as a test kitchen for more than just player development or strategies or stuff like that, but also for their marketing, for new jersey types, new marketing campaigns, things like that. This would be a perfect time for them to test out some similar ideas for when the Blackhawks eventually, realize that it's 2022.
And what would you mean by that?
Oh, I mean, after the Cleveland Indians decided that they needed to, like, it's only a matter of time. It's eventually going to happen. And like all things, it's probably better to just get it over with now. Yeah. But that isn't going to happen as long as the Wirtzes own this team. And whatever.
The Blackhawks need a lot of help in a lot of areas at the moment. So I don't think the logo is really first on their docket of things to take care of.
No, Washington football team would like a word.
Can we just get the Chicago hockey team?
Chicago hockey team, yes.
We could have the Chicago hockey team and the Rockford hockey team. How about that? Is that better than the IceHogs?
As a placeholder, I'm okay with it, but as like a permanent name, no. Like that only really seems to be a thing in European soccer. And every time it tries to come over to the States, people are just like, but no.
Just like the branding on jerseys for ads and stuff.
Oh, people are losing their minds about that. And I'm like, what do you think that, the like brand Reebok things are? That's an ad on the jersey for the jersey.
What about the Pepsi patch on the
exactly like jerseys? Teams have been doing it in the AHL for years, and it's one of those things that nobody cares. You don't see it on TV at all. Mm-hmm. Like it's fine. It'll be a thing that like when it happens, people will be outraged for like 2 whole weeks, and then it'll go back to like nothing happened. Like I remember when the Vegas Golden Knights brought out their jersey and everyone was like, that's terrible. And now nobody really has any thoughts on it besides the gold ones are sweet. That's it.
The gold ones are trash. What are you talking about? They look like they want to be Nashville.
With the sparkly gold, that is Vegas.
No.
Have y'all... let me pivot here for a sec.
Please do before we get in a fight over here.
Cut the tension. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Have y'all seen? I know Sean probably has, because we've both covered minor league hockey at different levels, ECHL, SPHL. Fort Wayne, Indiana. Have you seen the War Memorial Coliseum over there and what the ice looks like?
Mm-mm.
It is covered in ads. It is
Really?
completely covered in, absolutely. It looks like a European rink.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, like Fort Wayne is doing it right. I mean, they've had hockey there for 70 years and they're keeping it there, at least from a revenue standpoint. I saw the look on Sean's face. I know when I
I'm
say
now
something
Googling.
and
'Cause apparently, I thought I had seen it, but apparently not that recently. Let's take a look at this.
yeah, they got the income coming in. Like they've got all the advertisements on.
I mean, when you're an ECHL team, you do whatever you can to make the ends meet because the overhead there is like your margins are tiny. You need 1,500 people to, yeah. So if that's what it takes, I got no problem with that. But at the same point, like you'll never see that in the NHL because they don't need it.
I think the AHL should probably hop on that though.
I mean, there are AHL teams that can't even sell all their boards, like ads.
That's true. At least Rockford can do that. Our boards are full. The seats aren't, but the boards are.
And Courtney, to pivot back to the logo, I will say, Sean, not being a fan of Rockford's logo, he's also of the opinion that the Chicago Wolves need a branding refresh as well.
Oh.
Like, I think the Wolves should probably stay the Wolves, but that logo looks like 90s clip art. And especially with Wolves being as common as a name as it is, you can literally put Wolves sports logo into Google image search and you'll find hundreds of people who have Wolves templates that are some of them are pretty good looking. So like there are a lot of good options for them to go to for a new Wolves logo, which I definitely think they should do, especially because the color of their logo doesn't match the rest of their color palette, which is silly. Like it's a black wolf with green eyes on a maroon and gold jersey.
It also has gray in it. Don't forget
like
the
a little bit of gray, but again, maroon and gold jersey.
Courtney, are you defending the Wolves? Are you defending the Wolves logo?
Wow, we've done a good job. Like... We've already turned the host on her own in defense of her arch nemesis.
Yes.
It's a complicated topic, okay? But I was going to say that the Wolves can't go with like a jersey color palette to match any certain team because they can't keep an affiliate for longer than like 3 years. So,
oh yeah, but that's because they've never tried to, like they don't even try and hide the fact that like, oh yeah, we'll play your prospects if they're the best guys, but that's it. We'll also sign like 7 veteran guys who are good that'll fill our top 6. So
I mean, it worked out for Vegas. Most of their prospects played when they were affiliated.
Right up until the point in Vegas bought their own AHL franchise.
And then moved them right out of San Antonio.
But like, there are a lot of other... Sorry,
ahead, Sean.
I was say there are a lot of other AHL teams who I think's logo could use some change. So it's not like it's only the IceHogs and everyone else is great. So that's
not... all I heard when I heard you talking about the IceHogs branding. It's like, this is literally the only one that sucks.
No, there are plenty of other bad logos in the AHL. Chicago is one, Belleville is one. Abbotsford needs to do something different than the Insane Clown Posse guy that's just happens to be their mascot.
You're comparing that logo to the Hatchet Man? Johnny Canuck to the Hatchet Man?
It's basically the same silhouette.
Well, I mean,
I don't know about that.
They just got a new affiliate, so maybe give them some time.
They also very much like we're moving it to Abbotsford and then completely forgot they had to staff and come up with a new logo and jersey. And they're just like, what's in the closet? Oh, here's these fashion jerseys from 2012, was it? Pull those out, slap an A on the sleeve for Abbotsford. We're done. We did it, boys.
Yikes. Cece, how do you feel about the IceHogs logo?
I'm kind of neutral about it. I mean, I don't think it's an iconic logo by any means. You know, I don't think it's gonna endure throughout the ages as a marvel of graphic design or anything. But I'm also not of the opinion of that they need to rebrand. Like I think that it suits. You know, I think it suits the market well. It suits the hearkening to the Chicago Blackhawks jersey design that Rockford has embraced. I think it matches that pretty well. I don't really have any qualms about it, and I don't think they they need to rebrand. But what I was thinking was, since Rockford, up until the Blackhawks purchased the team,
Mhm.
I did I did a lot of research when Vegas was looking to purchase an AHL affiliate. And I honestly thought, because the city of Rockford owned the IceHogs, the only team in the AHL that was owned by city government, I honestly thought that Rockford was going to sell the team to Vegas.
I was
I really-
terrified.
Yeah, as you should have been. I really thought that. I thought that San Antonio was a secure market. You know, they were drawing 8,000 or 9,000 fans, but I really thought that Rockford was going to get plucked because of the fact that, you know, oh, it's city government. They're always looking to, you know, save a buck or two, you know,
Especially
wherever
the
they
city
can.
government.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I really thought that Rockford was going to be the team, them or Springfield. But
Okay.
honestly, Springfield being where the AHL headquarters is at, I can see how the league would have been like, no.
Yeah.
So it made sense that Rockford was kind of the leading candidate. But yeah, San Antonio getting purchased from, you know, Spurs Sports and Entertainment was kind of like, oh, well, that was unexpected, but I guess it worked out for Rockford.
It sure did, because then I would have to become a Wolves fan out of proximity of going to games. So I would have had a major bone to pick with the Golden Knights, because that's not okay.
Yeah. Unless you wanted to root for Henderson at that point.
But it's so far away, which isn't a horrible thing just for rooting interest, but for going to games, it would have to be the Wolves at Allstate, which is a horrible arena. I don't know if either of you two have been. Don't keep it that way. Don't go.
I have been to 2 AHL arenas. Yeah.
Okay.
Hershey and
Wilkes-Barre
the other one?
Scranton.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me.
Those are the only 2 I've ever been to.
I've been to 2 as well.
I've got y'all beat.
Well, I mean, you live in the Midwest, so it's all like
This is true.
all the AHL teams. Stockton was my first AHL game against Manitoba.
Oh,
I was in the Bay Area for a Denver Broncos game. Had a friend who was a Niners fan. We both met up in the Bay Area from outside, and we're like, let's go catch a hockey game. So we went, and I was covering the Steelheads in Idaho at the time. Hadn't been to an AHL game. I've been to an IHL game back in the day.
yeah.
But yeah, so Stockton Arena, that was my first AHL arena, and then Colorado up in Loveland.
Very nice. I've only been to
about
the
you?
3 that I'm closest to. So obviously the IceHogs and Allstate for Chicago, and then Milwaukee.
How is the Panther Arena up there? I've heard good things.
It's all right. It's fine, I guess.
It's fine.
I do think the BMO is a fairly nice-ish arena, just the way it's laid out. The concourse is easy to maneuver. There's a parking garage attached to it, so you can walk through the tunnel to get over there. Parking is cheap. It's only $5. In some places, it's a lot more expensive than that. Yeah, I mean, they don't have the best food options, but they're getting better. They are improving it. And once they center the Jumbotron at center ice, then it will be a lot better.
That's
How
pet peeve of
far
mine.
off of center is the Jumbotron?
It's bad. Because I sit at center ice, hence where the name of this podcast came from. And I have to look to my left to look at the Jumbotron.
Eep.
I'm now curious. Let's see if I can find an image of this.
I
It's
think
bad.
isn't Utica's off center too?
It's like the edge of the Jumbotron is over center ice, but the center of it is not. So it's rough. If you just,
Yeah, it's like slightly to the right, it looks like.
yeah, I mean, it depends on which side of the arena you're on. If you're on the broadcast camera side, it would be on the right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
drives
that's
me
not
nuts.
ideal.
It drives me nuts because I sit in the 200 level, so I'm more at eye level with the Jumbo, and I'm at center ice. So
Yeah, I can. Like if it were way far off, I guess that would just be a weird quirk of the arena. But the fact that it's like
Yep.
maybe 10 feet difference,
Mhm.
I can see that.
But they're getting a new one next year, so I'm hoping that they'll move it so it's centered.
I mean, you'd hope.
Otherwise, we're going to have a problem.
Courtney, I've got a bit of a trivia question for you.
Uh-oh.
So obviously Rockford was in the UHL, or at least the namesake
Mhm.
of the team was in the UHL up until 2007. And then they purchased the rights to an AHL franchise that sat dormant for a year, but their last season, this former identity of this franchise, who were the Rockford IceHogs AHL franchise before they became the IceHogs, and where were they located?
Oh God. I know that the Blackhawks were affiliated with Norfolk.
Mhm.
That's not it.
No.
Mm-mm.
Peoria was still around after the IceHogs came around. I don't know. Who was it?
I actually
The-
know this one because we did a
We-
quiz.
We
I
did.
don't know if Rockford was a part of it, but we did a quiz about like the goofy movings around of franchises.
Oh,
The
yeah.
franchise, it wasn't the affiliation shuffle. We did a different one that was like the history of franchises because it's basically random. They were the Cincinnati Mighty Ducks.
What?
Yep. That's what I
I've
said.
never
It's
even
basic.
heard of that name.
Oh yeah, they were around to like like they were late 90s to mid 2000s. But yeah, they were. I think they won a Calder Cup.
Let's check it out.
I might be wrong
Survey
about that. I
says
know
no.
what's his name? Bag of shit Toronto coach. Mike Babcock coached them.
Yes,
Really?
he did for 2 seasons. 01 or 2001, 2000, 2001, 2001, 2002. Those were the 2 seasons Babcock was the coach.
No, they did not. They did not win one.
No, they
They
did
didn't
not.
win a Calder. Well, they've kept that tradition going at least.
And then the team that they originated as an expansion franchise only played 2 seasons over there in your neck of the woods, Sean, the Baltimore Bandits.
Yep.
95, 96, 96, 97.
I thought
I'm
I
kind of
just
a
saw
nerd.
something in the news that like Baltimore was making like indirect moves to try and attract a minor league hockey team.
Oh yeah,
Really?
the Oakview group, the same group that owns the Kraken and the Coachella Valley Firebirds to debut next season. They invested $160 million to put into upgrades for this Baltimore arena. And people are like, wait a second, are they going to host a sports franchise again? Because I don't think they may host a G League team, like an NBA G League team, but I don't think they host a professional. No, they don't. They haven't hosted professional hockey since the AHL, I think. And so they might be in the market, Oakview, to put an AHL franchise, maybe an ECHL franchise. If it's Oakview Group and they already own the Kraken and the Firebirds,
Yeah.
why not put an ECHL team there, is my opinion. Oh, Sean is befuddled. What's going on?
So because when you said $160 million, I'm like, that's not for an ECHL team. That costs more than probably half of the ECHL teams put together. And it's like, why would you put $160 million into upgrades? And I'm like, all right, what does the new Barracuda like facility that they're building that's brand new? What did that cost? It costs $120 million for $160 million. Why don't you just build a brand new building?
That's the thing. Like they voted to renovate it instead of. It's not like it's a historic building or anything.
Is this going to be like this is going to be like in Seattle what they did, where they're like, all right, we're basically going to put an old roof on a brand new building, and that's our renovation.
Yeah,
and they're going to have a little plaque like, here is the one post in the concourse that is left from the original building.
Well, I mean, I guess if it's the same group, maybe they're making it all climate friendly and whatnot, so they have to put more work into it.
I'm curious now what the Firebirds brand new thing is costing. Let's find out.
Probably a whole lot more. But the thing is, they made those arena upgrades also to cater for concerts, to become like a premier concert venue, to bring more acts in. So, but considering it doesn't have a professional sports tenant, like I said, I think they might have a G League team, but I could be wrong. Probably am. But the fact that the conjecture is like, oh, hey, Baltimore was an AHL city back in the day, but they weren't bringing in people in droves. But I think, with as big of a sports town as Baltimore is, I think you could put a hockey team there in 2023 2023, 2024. And I think it could probably succeed. I mean, especially with the branding that Oakview has done,
Mhm.
you know, I think you could put hockey, AHL or ECHL. I mean, again, 160 million, like Sean said, you might want to go AHL, but what are you reading, Sean?
I was just looking at like some of the history of the Baltimore hockey teams, and I will say too, I know the ECHL is like, oh yeah, we can let the same company own like 5 teams. That's totally kosher. What could possibly go wrong there? Oh, Americans. But will the AHL allow that like nonsense to happen? I mean,
If they pay enough money.
That's the thing. And Spire Sports and Entertainment, you know, they own the Rapid City Rush in the Western Conference. In the ECHL, they own the Greenville Swamp Rabbits in the Eastern Conference. So maybe the AHL is like, oh, they're on different sides of the.
They're like completely different sides of the country.
I mean, yeah, and I mean AHL hockey. When will they ever meet? Probably never.
Exactly.
Unless it's a Calder Cup final.
Yeah, but do you want to be the league if those 2 teams play for a Calder Cup?
Oh,
like.
Yeah.
That is not a good moment, and one that you have absolutely set yourself up for. Like, I don't know.
Well, and another thing is, do you add, and Patrick Williams kind of quashed this one when I put it out into the Twitterverse. I said, does the AHL add a 33rd team and have an odd number of teams? Because that's kind of an idea that's been, you know, Kevin Lacey, our good friend, covers San Jose for Teal Town USA, covers the Barracuda.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of brought up the idea of like, well, maybe you could throw a couple of independent teams, or, you know, teams that could, you know, jump in for an affiliation and have 34 AHL teams. And
yeah, then the Chicago Wolves could live their dream of not being affiliated with anybody.
Right. They are so independent. But
yes.
Yeah, Patrick Williams quashed the idea of 33 teams. So I guess that begs the question, which AHL team would be moved?
Don't go there again.
Oh, sorry. Hey, they're owned by the Blackhawks now. I think
it's not going to be Rockford now.
No, not now.
The Blackhawks bought you. What are they going to do? Move you further away? Only Carolina's that dumb.
I mean, yeah, that one still doesn't make sense to me at all. They were right there.
Yeah. Yep.
But like the other thing too is if you have an independent team, where's a third of are you just going to sign like all of the, you know, free agent guys and go for it every year? That seems like a very tenuous proposition there. Like,
I mean, you could probably get a bunch of college free agents that way, guys who were undrafted, because then they could prove that they should be signed by an NHL team that doesn't have room for them yet.
But like, how many undrafted college free agents turn out to be like quality AHL players? Like, yeah, there are some, but by and large, they are a group of Mark Donks. And that's like, you couldn't build a team based around that.
I mean, how many AHL players are super great?
Define super great.
I mean, we're already used to the diluted talent pool because of the COVID-19 protocols and everything. So yeah, what the hell? Throw in a 33rd team and pack them full of, you know, bottom 6 AHLers and top line ECHLers. Why not?
Exactly.
Why not?
You know, total chaos.
That was a hypothetical, Sean. Don't answer that, please.
I was going to say, I could tell you exactly why not, because the Barracuda would sue them for trademark infringement.
Ouch.
Well,
see, now,
if you're talking about teams that would move to like that would uproot to Baltimore, or that would, you know, send the affiliation shuffle into yet another spin, I'm still not convinced Stockton survives this year.
Yep, I was just looking at that.
And the other thing too, I was doing some kind of like rudimentary, like, all right, if Stockton goes, where does Calgary put them, assuming they still want their franchise to be nearby-ish?
Mm-hmm.
And I still am a big believer that there are a handful of ECHL markets that could get the bump. One of which is Utah. Because geographically, I mean, yeah, there isn't another major city near Calgary that you could reasonably host an AHL franchise at. Like I remember when I did that like big theoretical exercise of what if everyone's affiliations made geographic sense? I think I put them in like Regina, Saskatchewan or something. And it's like, even that was like in terms of market size, that's a dicey one. Or like you could put them in like Helena, Montana or some goofy thing like that. But like Utah has a long history of hockey. It's a market that's done well with the ECHL. It's been a successful AHL market in the past, the distant past at this point, but still the past. And it's not ridiculously far from Calgary compared to like where Stockton is now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you bump Utah up, you put, you know, an AHL franchise that's in a smaller market now down, and you ship one of them to Baltimore.
But what's the reality of an AHL market wanting to bump down? What's the phrase I'm looking for? Willingly, because the great westward expansion in 2016, like those AHL franchises were bought by the NHL club and forcefully moved. And so the ECHL franchises that occupied that same market were like, well, we'll go over here and find some ownership groups. And the coordination of that was pretty impressive. Although, unfortunately, Manchester didn't survive that because they had a hell of a lot of like Calder Cup, won the Calder Cup in their last year in the AHL. And then their attendance just, and from people in that market, it's like that's hazardous. That is a cautious tale, I think, for any AHL market that does bump down to an ECHL level. Norfolk, looking at you too, because your attendance is awful.
Yeah, but I think most of the reason you see those big bumps in attendance down aren't because of quality of play. It's because the quality of entertainment value, the marketing budget, the game day operations budget, that's the thing that shrinks, that kills the attendance. Because it's not that fans are so used to a higher level quality of play, because I don't buy that. But because their game day presentation, there's no more fireworks and smoke and music videos at the beginning of games. There's, no more pregame. There's no more slush fund for pregame tailgates or, clever marketing campaigns. It's an ECHL level budget. And that's what separates fans from that. It's not the quality of play. It's the, theatrics that go along with an AHL marketing budget and an NHL team's, financial backing.
Is that why people don't come to Rockford games? Because we don't have any of that stuff.
I was going to say, how is it in Rockford? That was going to be my question to Courtney.
I mean, they have an intro video. They turn the lights off. They have a big blow up hog head that the players skate out of. But we don't have the fireworks like Chicago does with their wooden ceiling, and they shoot off fireworks. Makes no sense.
Or the flames for the Indy Fuel. I have been to an Indy Fuel game.
Okay.
Yeah. Checked out that arena last April. And they got the flames and give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire. Ooh.
Yeah, I want to make my way down there one of these days.
It's an Art Deco arena that was built originally in the 1930s, and I'm a sucker for Art Deco. Okay. So
yeah, I know a lot of people like going to Fuel games.
It's fun. It was fun, and it was against Fort Wayne. The natural rivalry in state. So yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, I remember one of our gifts in the our Christmas episode that Courtney only remembers us talking about Rockford in. We gave Hartford a better pregame show because their pregame show, at least from what I can see on AHL TV, is very sad.
Well, AHL TV is very sad, to be fair.
Fair. There are a handful of good broadcasts, and then there are some that are infuriating. A couple of which I have said we will not cover series where teams do not send a road broadcaster to, because I will not listen to that broadcast for 2 games. There are, I believe, currently 3 teams on that list.
Who are they?
One is San Diego, the other is Rochester, and then any game that's in Laval, there only is French broadcast. So,
really,
yeah, they don't have an English broadcast.
Oh,
which was also our Christmas gift to Laval, was an English broadcast, because like Laval, yes, is very French and they should have a French broadcast. I'm not in any way arguing against that. I'm saying they should also have an English broadcast, because there are a sizable minority of Laval and that surrounding area that aren't native French speakers that speak English at home. It's like 30% of the market.
Well, that's got to be really frustrating for them then.
Yeah, but because it's like most of the people who I imagine go to those games who are their core fan base, that they still fill, $5,000 on weekend nights, which ain't too shabby. They're probably all just French speaking, so none of them care. And they're like, wow, why do we have to expand our market share when we already have a good one?
Right. That's just like the Blackhawks not putting their games on TV back in the day.
For like 30 years or something.
Yeah. Which is why hockey was never really huge up here. I'd never heard about the Blackhawks, and I live an hour and a half away from Chicago. So it's ridiculous. But before we wrap this up, we'll go over your guys' teams that you are fans of. So, Sean, we'll start with you. Who is your main team?
In the NHL or in the AHL here?
In the AHL.
I mean, I guess you could call it Hershey. I spent a lot of time as a kid there. I went to games as a kid. I played in both Hershey Park Arena and Giant Center as a kid.
Okay.
I have a Hershey towel from like one of their Calder Cup runs in like the early aughts. But personally, I feel like my connection to that team is not the same since I haven't been a resident of Pennsylvania in 12 years now, really.
That's fair.
So or I haven't been a resident in Hershey, I should say. In 12 years. So I guess they are still technically my team, but I wouldn't call me a diehard fan. I think if anything, I am harder on them on our podcast than most other teams.
I mean, it's easier to do that for your own teams. That's why I'm so hard on the IceHogs and everything that they do wrong. But how's Hershey doing this year?
They've been up and down because the Capitals have basically been injuring, their daily days without injury counter gets reset every day. I actually think last week they heard it setting it to 1.
Wow.
So yeah, that has definitely tested Hershey, who at several points this season has basically iced an amalgamation of ECHL talent. I think there was one game they played where they had 4 viable AHL players in the roster.
Wow.
Whereas normally they at least, Hershey likes to sneak in 1 or 2 ECHL quality guys in there, even when they're fully healthy, just for the hell of it.
Just for funsies.
But at full strength, Hershey is a very good team still. I still do not think their goaltending is nearly as good as they think it is. Phoenix Copley has not been an above average AHL goaltender in 3 seasons, but
he's still there. Oh my god.
Oh, he's still there. And everyone seems to just remember that one year that he put up a 930.
Yeah.
And they're like, Phoenix Copley's still in a league. No, he's not. Hasn't been that good in quite some time, and he still is not that good. Zach Fucale, I still don't think is as good as his numbers the last 35 games indicate, but he's still more than he's a capable AHL starter. Defensively, Hershey went a lot for size in the offseason and grit and toughness.
Oh,
and
keywords there.
That has definitely reared its ugly head at times where guys just basically walk right around Dylan McElrath and go to the net, or they just wait for him to go to the penalty box, which he does at least once a game, and score there. But Hershey's forward core, when everyone's healthy, is very, very good still. It's very deep. They have a lot of guys that are still very capable. Even Matt Molson, who I think next year actually qualifies for Social Security. While at times he has definitely showed his age in his play, he's still a capable AHL player, even if it's not quite the top of the lineup guy he used to be. They're still not letting my boy Brian Pino be free. # free Brian Pino. But he's at least had some moments of power play time here and there. Hopefully Scott Allen will realize that is his natural place in the order of the world, is on the half wall on PP1, but I don't hold my breath.
Kane spot.
But Hershey has definitely been an up and down team this year. If you go to the stats page and you look at the standings tracker across time, you'll see and this is where the Capitals got hurt, and And then 2 weeks later, they got a bunch of call-ups. And then COVID. Like, it literally looks like a Six Flags amusement park ride.
The joys of being an AHL fan. It can be rough sometimes. If there's one player that fans should keep their eye on Hershey, who is it?
Oh, I mean, besides Brian Pino, who never gets the respect I feel like he deserves. The man scored 20 goals one season, and none of them were power play goals because
Wow.
they wouldn't put a 20 goal score on the power play. Hence the hashtag free Brian Pino. But I'm a big believer of Alex Alexiev.
Okay.
I think he is a future NHLer and like a future good NHLer, not in the like Martin Faravari number 6 defenseman kind of sense. But in the like, that guy could probably crack the top 4. I doubt he ever makes it to the Capitals just based on the way the Capitals are structured right now. He is very much an attractive trade chip, and the Capitals are still in go for it every year mode.
Yeah.
And he is not in that competitive timeline for them. So I think he's probably going to be someone who ends up on a team somewhere else, but Alexiev is very good. Outside of that, I mean, they have other good players, but no one who I feel like is truly under the radar in that sense. Everyone knows who Garrett Pilon is, Cody Franzen, longtime AHL and NHL veteran who you know very well, especially from last year.
Yep. Basically the coach of the team on defense.
But that's Alexiev is really the only one who I think is really under the radar there. Alexei Protas too. I don't know if he ever blossoms to be an NHL player, but I could see him having a long AHL career.
Okay.
Should he ever be able to kind of fill out and get a little bit more agility and skating into his gigantic frame.
Very nice. What about the Eagles, Cece? I know you're over there in Colorado.
I am. And like I mentioned earlier, I lived in Boise, Idaho. So that's an ECHL. It was a WCHL market back in the day when I first moved there. Yeah, it's always been a AA market. So, to have a favorite AHL team, I guess by default and by proxy, it would be the Eagles. Covering the team as a credentialed journalist. Obviously, you put all your bias to the side and you cover the team as best as neutrally as you can as a credentialed journalist.
I have no idea what it means to do that.
I can't tell. I mean, those jerseys in the background, you're wearing one, the hat. I mean, I didn't notice, but okay. But yeah, I mean, the Eagles, recently they've been doing great. They're on a 5-game win streak, 7-game point streak, 6-0-1 in that span. So as a team, they're really pulling it together in spite of their special teams. I think both the power play and the PK are like 26th, 27th in the league.
Wow.
So yeah, not doing too hot on the special teams. They had to bring in Utah Grizzlies head coach Tim Branham after coaching 8-9 seasons in the ECHL. They had to bring him in as the assistant coach to run the special teams after Brett Clark was let go because of, from what I heard, lack of cooperation for the COVID-19 protocols in place. However, Eagles doing great. 4th in the Pacific Division. Bakersfield is nipping at their heels, 0.001 points percentage behind the Eagles. Ooh. It's like, the middle of that Pacific Division is madness. And Sean's model predicted that. Like he's like, it's going to be just a cluster in the middle of that Pacific Division. So not to yammer on too long, individual players, who could have predicted that Jordan Gross, after spending all of last season on Arizona's taxi squad, comes into the AHL and leads all defensemen in scoring? The man had 6 assists this past weekend in the 2 games against the Milwaukee Admirals. I mean, he also had 2 shootout goals that saved. It was at the end of the 3rd round. So it was like the clutch goal where you had to make it to move to the next round. And he did it twice. So it's like, he can score, he can facilitate, he mainly facilitates, but like Jordan Gross, that could be a viable option as a 7th defenseman for the Avalanche, now that he's showing out in the AHL.
Great. They just need more defensemen that could score. That's all they need.
Exactly. Yeah. As a Central Division NHL, resider. I mean, you know how the Avalanche.
That Cale Makar goal that nobody will stop talking about. Yep, that's the one.
I mean,
What are you doing, Kirby Doc? What are you doing?
What do
he
you
pulled
expect him to do? He's not a defenseman.
He pulled the e-brake and I mean, Cale Makar can probably do that to 99% of the NHL, to be fair.
He could probably do that to himself if he could somehow play against himself.
Probably.
So.
But Jean-Luc Foudy is a great up and coming forward. He's got a lot of speed, but I think his hockey IQ and his brain power needs to catch up to the physical prowess that he has.
Okay.
You know, I mean, he's a young kid too. He was born in, 2002. So he's,
oh my gosh.
He's young. I mean, he
Just
played.
a baby.
Yeah. Right. And he played in the AHL last season. He got the exemption from the CHL. So he's an up and comer. Cal Burke, who signed an NHL deal. He's a great forward. And yeah, I want to say Foudy, going back to Foudy, he's been playing on a line with Jason Megna and Dylan Sekura. So, I mean, that's some, yeah. When those guys are your line mates, two vets like that. I mean, I spoke to him this past weekend after the game and he's loving it. Like he is just thriving on that line. And
I love when former Ice Hogs go elsewhere and do well.
Right? I figured you'd appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah. Lastly, goaltending, Eustace Noonan adjusted to the North American game a little rough at the beginning of the season, but even head coach, Greg Cronin was like, he's really improved and he's building confidence and, he's stringing together wins. He has the most shootout wins in the AHL now with 4. But granted, the Eagles have also played the most shootout games with 7 in the AHL. So there's that. But yeah, I mean, and he won 2 shootouts in a row this past weekend against Milwaukee. So
there you go.
There's also that.
Beating Milwaukee is not super hard to do these days somehow.
They were building a little momentum, but yeah, no, they gave Colorado a run for their money. Milwaukee was definitely the bigger team. So again, I don't want to yammer on too much. I gotta relinquish the computer here shortly. So, but yeah, the Eagles doing fairly well. They're middle of the pack. If they shore up the special teams, look out. They could be a deeper playoff team if that special teams, both the power play and the penalty kill, if that gets shored up.
Okay. But have either of those teams beat their biggest rival 8-0 recently?
I don't really think the Eagles have a big rival because most of the teams they play are in California.
Yeah.
But
well, let me tell you, the Ice Hogs beat the Chicago Wolves 8-0.
Oh,
we covered that game. Yeah.
Yes.
And that was
we
beautiful.
did.
And I will bring it up forever.
That's fair. Ended a 12-game win streak for Chicago as well.
That started with beating Rockford.
Oh.
It started there and it ended there.
I
remember watching that game. And I remember because I usually don't watch games live because watching games live is actually really annoying when you have to sit through commercial breaks and stoppages and face-offs and that kind of thing. I'm usually just skip.
Damn those face-offs.
Face-offs are annoying and irrelevant. But like I remember because I know the result going in. And I just remember I saw the score and I'm like, what in the I thought it was an error. Like it was supposed to be 0-0 and they were in a shootout or something. But I remember I sent it to Cece and I'm like, what happened? And I was like, oh, the Wolves started Mark Donkett goal. Like that's why this is.
And it wasn't even his fault.
And no,
he well.
Actually I thought played reasonably okay. The Wolves really. I remember because we covered that game. It was like none of the Wolves really wanted to play defense at all that game. All of them, as soon as there was like a semi-loose puck in the defensive zone, all of them were just like, and offense. Oh.
Except there was also no offense. So I'm not sure what happened there. I still don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I dreamt it, except other people know that game happened. So
Chicago, I think that was their first game back from like the holiday break.
Yeah.
And
it was Rockford
had a couple of
it was Rockford's too.
Oh, it was?
I think so.
I will go back. Maybe. It's not like I just have the AHL team pages up there, right?
I could have made that up.
Yeah, it was their first one back too.
See, not
Right.
an excuse. One team
I
can
thought they
score
had-
8 goals, the other one can't do anything.
I don't know why. I thought Rockford had a run-up game to that one. But
Nope.
Rockford's been hot recently too.
Yeah, they lost yesterday though.
And they lost to Cleveland, but still, I mean, 6-2 over Milwaukee, 5-2. They split Cleveland 5-2 and 5-4. But
It's very
they-
up and down over here.
But they have Texas and Iowa coming up and Milwaukee. Like they
Great.
have 4 games that all should be dubs pretty handily.
They're gonna get beat by Iowa. They always get beat by Iowa.
Handful of get right games, quote unquote. So
I don't have the model updated yet. I've been starting to do it on Thursdays to better capture like all of the crazy roster moves that happened between Tuesday and Thursday that were causing my model percentage to go down and making me unhappy. So I started
That's fair.
Thursdays. Otherwise, I would tell you what the model picks for the next 4 games. But it's
People will just have to stay tuned.
yeah.
And along those lines, we will wrap this up here. So thank you guys so much for joining me. It's been a wonderful time chatting about how much you absolutely despise the IceHogs branding.
I feel like that was a very brief moment in this wonderful episode that we covered a lot of other wonderful topics, Courtney.
Yeah, but also how you despise the IceHogs branding.
Oh, okay.
I never said despise. I just said I would change it.
I heard despise.
Putting words in Sean's mouth now. Well,
Eh,
thanks for having
Sure.
us on, Courtney. It was a pleasure.
Never. You are so welcome. But where can people find you guys on the internet? Start with you, Cece.
Okay. Calder Farmstead is it's on pretty much every podcast platform. It's on YouTube, youtube.com/the Calder Farmstead. We've got our
The
own
Calder Farmstead and AHL podcast.
Oh, it's that long? Oh my goodness. Okay, I didn't realize that.
And both of you just froze. Hooray.
Whoopsies.
So yeah, you can find me at fullpresshockey.com, covering the Eagles, covering the AHL. Same with you, Courtney. Imagine that.
Yes.
But yeah, so and then you can also find me Front Range Hockey. That's another podcast I co-host with Scott McDonald about all things Colorado hockey. Forgot to mention that at the top of the program. But
Fantastic.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah. What about you, Sean?
My name is Sean O'Brien. You can find me on Twitter at Sean O'Brien 81. That's SeanObrien 81. You can also find all of my stats work, including the model, all of the puck luck things, the big maps you see on Twitter. That's at bit.ly/data dump and chase, all lowercase, all one word. I also have an Instagram account at Sean O'Brien _81. That is mostly my dog Parker, but occasionally some other random things about the world around me. My Twitter is a personal account, but mostly hockey, but also random takes on pop culture and entertainment things. I try not to take anything too seriously. So
Yeah, that's the best way to be, really. But I do really enjoy looking at those graphs, and I do really enjoy listening to y'all's podcast. So again, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a wonderful time, and I will catch you all in the next episode. Bye.